Right, good evening and welcome to another episode of Fathering Sons, Taura Tinzwe, hosted by myself, Ronald. Today, I'm hosting a good friend of mine called Andrew Lehong. We met with this guy almost 20 years ago, if I remember correctly. I think he still had hair. At a camp, yeah?
Yeah, it was at the church camp.
Church camp, 2006, 2007, thereabouts, I think it was.
206, I remember correctly.
Wow. We've been friends ever since. You've gotten married and you've got 2 sons now. And you managed to get a copy of my book. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was forced to pay into buying it.
Good for you. Now, I think we've had a lot of conversations at length about this issue of fatherhood from the word go. And you are one of the people that actually contributed to make sure that this book came alive. I think what I want to find out from you, when you had conversations in life in general with your friends, practicing witchcraft and all those other kind of things, what did you pick up, from the church as well, discipleship? I'm sure you've been working with a lot of men over time, ministry-wise. Is there anything that you would say came out strongly about this issue of fatherhood that you think is something that we need to take note of in this day and age?
Look, man, we've got a lot of men who grew up without fathers, who grew up with their mothers, who performed both duties as a father and as a mother. But at the end of the day, we cannot discount the impact that a masculine figure has on a boy child. Most of the people that I've worked with, that I've mentored, who did not have their fathers, you could see the difference in their outlook and approach in life, as opposed to those who grew up with their fathers being present. We ought not to discount the impact that mothers do have on their sons when the father is not available. However, the presence of the father, it makes much more difference.
Sure.
It is something that even I, at this point in time, I advocate that even for all the men out there who are able to, and who knows or who have friends who happen to be ladies who are raising their children by themselves.
Yeah.
Such men shouldn't shy away from intervening or playing a part, a father figure role into that particular child's life. So you don't need to be blood related to be able to play a father figure into any person's life. So what I've figured and what I've noted is that it is very imperative to have a masculine figure play a role in one's life and one upbringing. It reinforces one's confidence, it reinforces one's outlook, and the way that we start seeing things becomes drastically different to those that don't have that particular father figure in their lives.
That's good to hear. And if I didn't know any better, I'd say you've been claiming my book the whole night. But I think you are one of the fortunate few. And I say this because the current stats as they are put it at the fact that 6 out of 10 children in South Africa currently are growing up without a father. And these are stats, these are numbers that haven't been changing much over time. We would expect, with a bit of a modern version, a modern lifestyle that we're living today, at least that to be changing, but it really isn't over time. But you, fortunately enough, had dad at home growing up. And how do you see that? What are the things that I would say you picked up mostly from your dad that you say, today I cherish having him in the house, having been the privileged few to have dad at home because of 1, 2, 3, 4 things that you think, from dad, this is what I get and mostly I appreciate?
You've got to understand that I grew up in those seasons and regions where father figure meant that authority, and you knew that if you misbehave and you just say, I'll wait until your father comes back home, then So it's one of those things that for me it kept me in line. That if I even thought of doing something, and my mom would be saying, wait until your father comes home.
Sure.
Then you would know that it is time for me to change whatever I was thinking about. So with that being said, I think for me, having that presence of authority, knowing that if I misbehave, someone else is going to come back home.
Sure.
And I will have to account, be held accountable for whatever action I may have conducted and things like that. It kept me sane to a large extent. But also having him around and seeing him helped me understand that most men have their own Goliath that they are fighting.
Okay.
And it also affects how they interact with their children. It also affects how they rear their sons. So there are both positive and negative things that I've seen and I've acknowledged and that I said, okay, that one I can take as a man.
Sure.
And say that I'm going to do the same kind of things with my children. And there are certain things that I've seen and I said, I'm not going to be like that with my children. Having a father figure at home does bring forth the discipline that is required in the outlook. And I think that had he not been around, I'm not sure if I would be the man that I am today without his input.
From what you're saying, is it fair for me to conclude that your dad was a bit of a disciplinarian?
I think what I can say is, in my entire life, I can only remember once where my father really did physically discipline me.
Okay.
But that's only once.
Oh.
But that was enough.
Okay.
That was enough to know that, if I go out of line, I wouldn't. I didn't want to get it. I didn't want to go through the same thing again. He was more of a disciplinarian, but a quiet disciplinarian.
Okay.
He didn't really speak much, but he acted much. There's always that look that you would get from a parent, and you would know that, hey, I need to.
It's about to go down.
So it is time to bring it back in. He was a disciplinarian in that sense. But mostly I think he had his own Goliath, like I said, his own mountains that he had to climb, and some he defeated, some still fighting them even to this day.
Makes sense. And I think there's one question I would like to ask, which I've asked a lot of men, and the answer seems to be almost the same. Did your dad tell you that he loves you?
He did, but not in action. Not in words, but in actions.
He wrote it down.
No. No. It was one of those things that I think back then I didn't even know that parents would tell their children that they love them or that they're proud of them. But the manner in which they provided for me, it was saying that yes, they love us.
Okay.
Yes, he loves me. So
you don't have to feel guilty about that, trust me, because a lot of men, I think you'll read from my book that I think it's almost from the survey that I did, it would work out almost 90-something% of the guys said, nope, they had never told me that he loved me, even though it did show, obviously, by hugging and all those other kind of things. But I think the one thing that I picked up from you as a person, as a friend over a number of years, that you're very passionate about sport. Not very good at it. I think you're just average, but you've got the passion. And when you were growing up, playing rugby or soccer, did your dad come and visit you and then play what you play and at any one of your games, perhaps?
There had to be food on the table.
Sure.
So my dad never had time to be coming to my games.
Okay.
His work required that he would be, away from the family for a week.
Sure.
Only come back on weekends.
Serious?
Yeah, and growing up, I played all the sports that were available, and I can.
You look like a guy.
I can clearly say that in all those sports I excelled.
Okay.
And I think that I been raised in a different environment, like my sons have been raised. And
sure.
Most likely may have been a very proficient and prolific sports person.
Yeah, proficient.
Yeah,
that's good. Man.
So he never got that opportunity because he had to go work.
All right. But did you ever have that yearning or that I wish my dad could come and watch me play.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time. I was a sprinter growing up,
Okay.
you know, and I was pretty fast. I think in my prime I would do 100-meter dash in about 10 to 11 seconds. So I was that.
So you would compete in the bold kind of arena there, yeah?
Yeah, like I'm saying that had I grew up in a
Yeah.
different environment, I think I would be proficient
Sure.
in the things that I did. My mom would be there in most cases,
Okay.
but she would not be there to watch me play the sports.
Uh-huh.
My mom was a street vendor, so when we have sports activities, she would be there selling whatever she would be selling.
Oh, okay.
And whenever I'm not participating in any sports, then I'll also be doing the very same things. I'll be saying, I'll be there but selling.
Sure.
So my parents never really watched me play any sport, but they knew that I was good.
All right. And I think you touched on something interesting there on the selling, because my mom also used to sell, stuff on the side, nuts and, small things. I think we're having a conversation with my siblings a few weeks ago, and we're laughing about it, that even when you take a bus, she would take out these small bags of nuts and start selling them in the bus. And I would be so embarrassed, like, can the earth just swallow me right now? So people, how did you feel, when you had to go to school where others are playing and having fun, you actually are selling for them to have fun? How was that for you?
That is the only life that I knew.
Sure.
Growing up. I would go to school. In fact, when I was in primary school, every time that I would be going to school, there would be a plastic bag full of cheese curls and the likes that I would have to be selling at school.
Okay. Every day. So you say that you had somewhat of a good relationship with your dad, if I get you correctly. And of all of that, what is it that you see that you had with your dad that you practice now as a father with your sons?
I remember a while back, I was pretty young. My dad would take me, put me on his shoulders.
My dad used to love that, man.
As he goes, to partake in the fermented beverage.
Sure. Oh, okay. I didn't go there.
Yeah. So yeah. But what I remember, despite the fact of where we were going, but the fact that he would carry me on his shoulders.
Sure.
The fact that he would, he would sound to be proud of me. So I think for me that is something that I'm making my sons, I make them aware that I am proud of them.
Come on.
And that they are, the centers of my world. So yeah, it is something that I want them to always understand and never doubt that I am proud to be their father.
That's good. And I think you mentioned a very important issue there in terms of the pride aspect. It's one of the things that features prominently in the book. If you remember, you have read the book, ne? I know you've read the book.
I have indeed.
You will see that the pride aspect comes in a lot. A lot of men actually wanted their fathers to tell them that, they were proud of them. So I'm glad you're doing that with your sons. And how do you see, your sons are still young, how do you see that working in them? Do you see any potentially difference in their facial expressions, or how they look and feel at the time when you tell them? Do you pick up any differences at all?
It's surprising that when I do tell them after they have done something, they're like, man, you did well. You could see in their expression, you could see their shoulders now, coming up and say, and they would go and do something else.
Okay.
Just to come and tell me about it, so that they can be able to get the same compliments, which I find very enjoyable.
That's good.
Because it pushes them, to do more, and I think which I think is a good thing. Like they're not just nonchalant about anything and everything. And to the extent now that I'm looking at my eldest, who is in grade R.
Yeah.
He loves doing his schoolwork.
Oh wow.
Okay. And when
how'd you get that right?
I think it is the mother.
Killing at you, yeah?
Killing at me.
Sure.
he mostly takes out after the mother.
Okay, okay.
And he loves it. He would do, you know, one or two things and then come and show me and say, oh, Dad, look at what I did. And I'm like, yeah, man, come on. That's how you do it. And I'll give him a high five and we'll go back. And within 5 minutes later, he'll be done with another task and come and show me again. So, yeah, I think it's very imperative for us as parents to never shy away from dishing out compliments to our children, telling them how proud we are of them.
And you see what it does as well, from the research that I did for that book as well, is that it affirms the child, affirms the boy. He knows he's not in an insecure place. Exactly. He's loved, he's appreciated, and all of those things that he's doing are being appreciated, which is a very good thing that I think you're doing with your sons. And is there anything, though, that I would say from the flip side that you saw in your relationship with your dad that you don't want to go into the relationship with your kids?
I think, you know, every now and then, back then, when my dad would be, is it called what? Inebriated?
We'll need a dictionary to check all these words.
Yeah, so there will be a bit of an aggression towards, you know, my mom sometimes, and yeah, so I think that is something that I never want my children to see.
Sure.
No matter how agitated I might get, I never want them to experience a side of me that I wouldn't be proud to say that, you know, or they wouldn't be proud to say that my dad does that. I think the only thing that I want them to experience with me is how loving I am towards their mother, so that they can be able to know how to treat, you know, women as they grow up as well. So yeah, I never want them to see me or even hear me shouting at their mother or raising my voice towards their mother or being angry at their mother. So the only experience that I want them to have from me towards their mother should be and must be always a loving one.
Oh, that's good to hear, man. And I think when we're coming in such a time where there's all these reports about so much gender-based violence taking place in the country, just other dates, another girl is missing, another date, another girl was found dead. How do you think you'll be able to teach your sons to not become those men who take advantage of and or abuse women when they grow up? What's the secret that you think from your own experience you are passing down to the next generation to stop this thing of gender-based violence?
Funny enough, you know, my sons is like 4 and 6, and the 6 now is about to be 7 now. But I saw the importance about a week or two ago to sit them down and talk to them that, you know, no matter how agitated you might be, no matter how angry you might be, never, ever, ever lay a hand on a woman. It broke my heart that at this young age, it is something that I also need to tell them, which is something that I think should just be natural to know that there should be no violence whatsoever, you know. So yeah, I think irregardless of what I might say to them, I need to make sure that I portray that which I want them to be.
That's good.
You know, I can say whatever I want to say to them, but if I'm acting differently, there is no difference that my words are going to make to them. So for me, I have to show them how to treat a woman. And the only way for me to show them how to treat a woman is for me to treat their mother better.
That's good. And that you know, I always speak about this when I go on some of these media platforms to say, normally kids tend to do what you do more than what you say. Exactly. And I think we all know, you know, can say, stop doing that, but if you are doing it yourself, chances are they'll end up doing that thing. So it's a very good thing that you say. I think I'll just call your wife a bit later to find out if really she's treating you that good, you're treating her that good, and she can be a testament to this. But as she's watching, I think, Senala, thank you, you're doing a great job teaching this man to be a proper man. I think if I would give you, if I would say this video is going to be watched by 500 million men around the world, and I give you a chance to give them just one nugget that they should take away from all of what we've had, or perhaps what you wanted to say, what's the one thing that you would want to look at the camera and tell the men out there in the world to say, this is a message from?
That's a tough one. But I'd say, above all things, love is paramount, ought to be paramount. You know, no matter how difficult things might be, love should reign. and love for your family, love for your spouse, love for your children, and never be afraid to tell them that you love them. Never be afraid to show that particular love, and not just it just be in words. So yeah, love the people that are surrounding you. And hey, it doesn't have to be nice to other people as well, even strangers. Just be nice.
Sure.
You know, it doesn't take anything away from you. It doesn't, you know, whether somebody, no matter how lonely a person might seem to be, you know, just be nice.
Sure.
You know, and hey, never ever, no matter how agitated you are, no matter how angry you are, raise your hand on another person. Violence is never the answer.
Come on, that's good. Thank you, Mr. Andrew. You've heard it for yourself. Let's be nice to each other out there. And we really appreciate the time that you've given us for this time, your wise words that you've spoken as well. We pray that you become that very, very, very good father you want to be and you aspire to be, and hopefully teach your boys as well to become like you or better in the next generation. Catch you again on the flip side next time. This is Taura Tinzwe.